All right, so we've talked about having leftovers and we've talked about having remainders, but this lesson is about interpreting remainders, so it's just what do I do with those leftovers. So I've given you a problem, and it is Miss Fenwick was making flower arrangements for her wedding. She used 26 flowers. Each arrangement needs to have 4 flowers in it. So we've agreed that 26 divided by 4 is what we're doing here. That's the math that we're doing. But we've done it with the house with the traditional algorithm, but we're drawing a picture of it here. I've got 3 vases so far. But how many, if I have 4 in each of these 3 vases, how many have I used?
12.
I've used 12. Is that 26 yet?
No.
Nope. So I'm going to keep going. All right. So here, have I used it? Have I used all of them yet? If I have my 4 vases?
No.
Nope.
I only used 16.
I've only used 16. If I use one more vase, how many flowers do I have? 20. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 4 vases held 16. 5 vases hold how many? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So here's another vase. Okay. So now I've used 24. How many flowers did I say that I had? 26. I've used 24 of them. I only have 2 left, right? So I'm going to go ahead and draw this vase. But how many flowers go in it? There's only 2 in that one. Yep. It doesn't make a full arrangement. Okay? Now, if I say 26 flowers divided by 4 is 6 remainder 2, that doesn't really tell me anything. It doesn't give me a real answer, and that's what I'm getting at here whenever we talk about interpreting remainders. There's 3 things you can do whenever you interpret your remainders. Okay? I'm talking about remainders here, remember. Okay? So with my remainder, the first option I have is that I can ignore my remainder. Ignore it. Okay? And an example question like this would be, how many complete arrangements does she have? Okay. And here, look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I count this last vase at the end?
No.
Why?
Because it's not equal to the same amount.
It doesn't have the same amount. It's not a complete arrangement. It only has 2 flowers, but it needs 4 to be done. So the answer here would be 6. There are 6 arrangements that are finished. Okay, one of them's not, but I can just ignore it. It's not asking me about the ones that are, it's not asking me about these 2 that are left over. I can just leave them as extra. Okay. The next thing I can do with my remainders is to round it up. Okay. This would, an example question, oh, you can't really see that, can you? Let me get a different color pen. This one would be round it up. Okay. So an example question would be, how many vases does she need to hold all the flowers? Okay. This is where I can't leave these out. I have to include this one. If I want every flower in vases, I have to include it. So here, I have to say, well, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, 5, 6, and even though this one's not full, I have to include it. Okay? So how many vases do I need to hold all of the flowers?
7.
I need 7. Okay? Really, the thing I want you to think about here is there can't be any left out. Everything has to be included. Everything or everyone has to be included. Okay. Another example of this type of question would be if we're going on a field trip and only 5 people fit in the car. How many cars do we need? You don't want to be that person that's left off, so you have to include another one even if it's not a full group. Does that make sense? You with me?
Yes.
Okay. The last thing that you can do with your remainders is to report it. Another thing that you might see someone might say focus on it. That's your answer. So an example question would be, how many extra flowers does she have? So here, do I care about my full groups?
No.
I don't care about these 6 vases at all. All I want to know is these ones that didn't fit in a full group. So how many leftovers do I have?
2.
I have 2. There are 2 that fit or that didn't fit in one of those groups. Okay? So do you see how even I used all the same information, but there's one thing that's different? And that is, you don't know the answer. I can find 26 divided by 4 is 6 remainder 2, But if it's a word problem, I don't know the answer to that word problem until I know what the question is. So in my brain, I'm going to think, what's the answer? It depends on the question. Okay? Okay? So all of everything, it depends on the question before I can tell you what the answer is. There are many ways to ask a division type problem in a word problem. I can say things like, Noun has 26 pieces of candy and wants to share it with 5 friends. How many pieces of candy is each person going to get? 5. But do we care about that one that's left over?
No.
No, we can just ignore it. I don't have to worry about it. I can have extras that I can give away or throw away, or if it's candy, you may want to give it to your teacher that you love so much, right?
Yeah.
Okay? That also likes candy. But if I have to include everything, that's where I round it up. If I can't leave people behind, that's where I round it up. If everything has to be included, that's where you round it. And if you're reporting it, that's where you're saying, this is what was left over. How much pizza is left over after they share it with everyone? Well, there's 2 pieces left over. If each person had 4. If there are 26 pieces and they're shared it with 4 people, each person would get 6. But if my question is how many pieces are left over after they share it,
It's going to be 2.
the answer is 2. That's what you need to know. There are 3 different ways that you can report that remainder. You can ignore it and leave it off. You can round it up, or you can include it. And if you notice, you've got your 6 from your 6 remainder 2. You have your 2 in your 6 remainder 2, but you also have this 7 that's just 1 extra group. Does that make sense? Or 1 extra piece for each person. You with me?
Yeah.
All right.